Going to sing today.
That's a shame.
I don't know what to sing. Morgan. How is it going today?
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. It's going well. Least of all because we have some amazing guests in our green room, but I'm excited for our conversation today, and it's great to see you.
Yeah, you were telling me about this story about social selling and why it was so important. Did you want to share that with everyone?
I don't know if I remember this story.
I'm just teasing, Morgan.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. Very nice to see you. Welcome to this B2B Power Hour guest series. And to say that we have experts is a bit of an understatement today, would you say, Morgan?
An understatement of understatements, for sure.
And what do you think? Should we introduce them and bring them on?
Let's bring them on. If you're here watching, drop a hi in chat. We'd like to see you. And please welcome Sam, McKenna, and Alex Boyd for this
Hi, you guys.
lovely.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Welcome.
Guys.
So around here, we like to kick it off with a little question of the day, something casual, something fun. Nick, do you have a question for us today?
I don't know. I feel like we got to offer this to the guests. Does anybody have a question you'd like to know about our audience? Something outside of work?
Previously, we've asked, is a hot dog a sandwich? What's your favorite place to go for vacation? Is there a country you haven't visited yet? So if there's something on your mind, please ask, and we can all answer too. Like, we'll hear from our chat as well.
You guys, I think I have something to contribute. The fact that Alex and us behind us, that if positioned correctly, we look a little bit weird. We've got wings behind Alex and then something like growing out of my head. It's really attractive.
Obviously I have this half gallery wall. If we moved the camera, it'd be a full gallery wall. What people don't see, which is the secret thing, the secret sauce, is I have a wall of clocks, and they're all like random vintage clocks we found at thrift stores, and it's a fun little amalgamation of things. So yeah.
Are they all at different times, or?
Yeah, no, they are all at the same time. We wanted to get some purpose out of it, you know?
That would freak me out.
Yeah. Nick, what is behind you?
Not much.
Yeah.
People keep throwing stuff in my office and it just gets piled. But maybe the question of the day needs to be, have you added a personalized touch of you to your office? Something that you're proud of, something that means something to you. And what is that one piece? What is that one thing in your office that really makes you you?
We could go.
I feel like you guys go, yeah.
A Lego bonsai tree that my coach gave to me, and it is very zen. It's very on brand. Created from lots of tiny Legos. Those are very small.
I'm continuing my pineapple theme. It's like nothing but pineapples in this spot. I've got a super cool vintage lamp from my mom. It's like a little, you can't see it, but that's my thing. It's really cool.
Nice. I'm not in my office. I don't usually just work here all day, but I have a watercolor thing of an artichoke because I used to have a company that was named after an artichoke, and so it was both the inspiration for the name and it also continues to present itself.
I know I have something. I gotta go look.
So you and I are into like spiky leafed fruits and vegetables. It turns out, Morgan.
It turns out.
Was the name of the company in fact Artichoke?
It was an Artichoke Studio. That was all it was. It was a nice little creative take on.
You could create a shoe company, Artichoka.
Artichoka. Oh,
it's flipped.
Can I give a non-sponsored shout out to Melissa Moody and the Gated team real quick?
Oh,
yeah.
She's in the room.
Hey, Melissa, what's up?
Yeah.
And Jacob.
Savorables, I like it.
Our artichoke savory pineapple. We could go on and on about all of these questions in chat, but we are here to talk social selling today. So, Nick, where did you want to start this conversation? Because, and I just want to prompt this for everyone who's joining us. I can probably count, it might take two hands, but it's not that many people who are out on LinkedIn and who use social selling and generate like genuine, real, crazy, consistent results. And we've got two of them here today with us, Alex Boyd and Sam McKenna. And I wanted to take the reason this session exists, and I'll pass it over to Nick, was we wanted to talk with y'all basically how other sales teams can do this, because there's a lot of buzz about social selling right now, and you both do this all the time. So what better way to have a conversation with the people who are in the trenches doing it every day?
So I know where I want to start this with you guys. Cool. What is one thing that social selling isn't? Like whether you want to call it your biggest pet peeve that you wish people would know, and then how would you describe social selling? Big one to start it off.
It isn't merely
I'll take lead. What? Alex, do you want to go?
Delay of Sam's audio.
Just me. Really okay.
Oh gosh.
Go for it, Sam.
Go. Okay, I'm going, you guys. What it isn't, it is probably, my biggest pet peeve is probably what most people's pet peeve is about social selling. To teach and give your content away for free as a mechanism to get marketing, to get outbound about what you do and who you are and what your expertise is. And it drives people nuts, is that they just want to show up to LinkedIn and say, I have a cool webinar and you should pay me $199 to come and watch it. Well, that's what social selling is.
Love it.
That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people who think of this as, I'm going to take my email and call cadence and I'm going to repeat it. But on LinkedIn, it's like, this is a whole different thing. It's it almost reminds me of how like monkeys and apes have like a way different common ancestor. Selling is the common ancestor of your outreach cadence and your social selling, but it is not just a thing they're not the same species. I would define social selling as helping people publicly. You can help people in private on your discovery calls, which is great. You're used to doing that. But if you take that and you reimagine it for a public space, very much like Sam said, you can think of it as like queuing up your discovery and your challenger insights, thousands of people at a time versus just one-to-one. I mean, one-to-one is great. That's the essence of it. That's where it ends up eventually. But when you do it thousands at a time, you're just so much more efficient, I found. And I'm a person who likes efficiency. I've made 50,000 cold calls. I would rather not do that.
Mm-hmm. I was waiting to see if Sam was...
the far extreme of that. I have made 0 cold calls in my, people get their feathers so ruffled when they, I think the thing on social selling that I would say too is thinking about this, like the whole idea of it again is to share your expertise. The biggest win for us is when we get an inbound lead, we get where people say, I saw your post because someone in my net, I went down a rabbit hole of your content. We wanted to talk to you. Think about what we do with our emails. When we're outbound emails, we're trying to get somebody to say, I have that chat I want to talk to you. Social selling is the same thing. Get your content, your engagement out there to get people to say, that's a smart thought. I wonder how she does it. It would make sense for me to talk to this person. It's modern day prospecting.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I continue to see posts between different sales leaders mostly, but they're layering their approaches, right? They're sequencing. And I see this kind of floated around every once in a while. And Alex, you had brought this up of they sort of pretend like social is the same as another network. And so it's like you call somebody, then you view their profile, then you send them a connection request, then you send an email, then you call them again, and you're like layering and layering and layering. So to Alex, maybe we can start this off. A question I have for you is like bluntly, is that effective? And in your experience, does that work for you or for sales teams that you're working with? Or is this network so different, or is social selling such a different approach that it requires a different way to like layer these things together?
It's so funny how many people will hit me up and say, like, we want to do social selling better. What do you got? How can you help us? And I'll be like, cool. What does it look like now? And they're like, well, I'm sending out a lot of connection requests. I'm putting out a lot of posts. I'm like, okay, awesome. How many meetings are you getting? How much pipeline? They're like, we set 2 meetings in the last month. I'm just like, that is not acceptable. I think because it used to work and it still occasionally works, what people do, and this is often the sales leader's fault, I have to admit. They have a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet says this many meetings, this many activities, this much pipeline. They're low on pipeline, so they just crank up the input cells of the activity part, and they say, do more. Whether it's hiring more or even fake profiles, whatever it is, they just do more. And then the problem with that is that the diminishing returns reduce the conversion rate number. So then you have this infinite spiral of having to do more, and then you get less and less and less. And so your results go down the tube because you're in spreadsheet mode and you have pressure from somewhere else. So that doesn't work. And you need to reimagine it. Otherwise, all of their percentage numbers on that will fall. And the problem is not even attention too. That same person that I mentioned was posting actively. They had 12 things in their headline of all the things they are: a visionary, strategist, doer, blah, blah, blah. And they post all the time. And it's like this TikTok stuff. And it's like, you gotta calm the hell down. Focus on you are here to sell. You're not just here for attention. And if you're not getting results from doing the thing, you have to stop doing it. If you're not getting results from your sales team posting mass blogs, and I apologize, I do have to take aim at all the companies saying, plug in your 50 reps and we're going to insert a blog and slam it out to all your profiles.
Oh, the reshare.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I know why they're doing it. They're close. What they have to do is something a little bit different, and then it can work. It's not that. But the point I'm making is, if it's not working, you can't just do more of it, because you will do what we're doing now. What we're seeing is sales team isn't performing. I do a bunch of layoffs. That's because you didn't listen to us earlier. Sorry.
Well said.
I hate to drive that nail in right now, but I'm going to give the I told you so. Sam and I, and all of us, have been screaming about it for a while. You can't just do more. So it has to be a reimagining. They're not that far off. You need a little bit of tweak in the focus and the quality over quantity. When I say quality over quantity, I mean your conversion rate will go way up. Your pipeline will go up. I don't mean be lazy and stop doing activity. It's way different.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Think about this too. Exactly what Alex just said on the focus on data and quantity, right? We're so focused on quantity, make 100 cold calls, send 1,000 emails, whatever. None of that matters if you have horrible content in there. So that's one thing, like, we've got to fix that. But also think about this. Like, I love my alma mater of LinkedIn. I am a massive proponent of the LinkedIn Sales Navigator platform. I could wax poetic about its power. However, most sales reps focus on the value prop of the wrong thing with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is how it gets a bad rap. And it's the idea of volume of in-mails. We want your entire team to do an in-mail campaign, do a spiff. Whoever sends the most in-mails gets $500. Who gives a schnookle about how many in-mails you send? I usually use a different word. I will keep it friendly.
You're more than welcome to not, by the way.
Who gives a shit about the volume of in-mails? Here's the thing. What pains me about this is that companies that focus on volume of in-mails because it has a higher conversion rate, right, than regular email, what they do is they do that for 90 days and then they're like empty pipeline. So we wasted 90 days, we burned bridges, we tarnished our brand for what? And to Alex's point, it is maddening when companies say, we're going to invest in social sharing, automatic platforms, right? We're just going to drop a piece of content for marketing. Everyone's going to share it. Guess what? Nobody wants to be sold on LinkedIn. If your reps are taking, we have a case study, a 98 page white paper, and throwing it on LinkedIn, everyone's going to say, we don't give a shit. There's that word again. And they're going to move on. So you've got to think about let's get our reps to understand how to post content. And if they're terrified to do that, how to engage with their buyers, right? Your buyers are posting on LinkedIn. And here's the most beautiful part. The executives that post, go and look at like 3 or 4 of your executives in B2B SaaS technology. Go and look at your Melissa Moody's of the world that you would kill to have a meeting with. And the comments that Melissa probably gets are light. She might get a lot of engagement. She might get a lot of likes and claps and all that, but comments are light. Why? Because people are lazy and they don't comment. So go and look at Eric, the CEO of Zoom, light comments. You want to stand out to your buyer, bloody put in a comment, give some thought leadership about what's in your brain and get that person to say, cool. Do that again in 2 days and in 4 days and in 5 days. And that person will be like, who the hell is this again? And then they will go to your profile and become an inbound lead. Zero passion for this.
It's funny as you both talk, because we of course hear this all the time from sales managers of the whole more volume, more activity, because it quote unquote works, right? And the thought that Sam, I think you had just hinted at, was like, at what cost? How fast are you burning your TAM? How fast are you burning your market just by sending a volume-based in-mail campaign, instead of doing, at the very least, what you had just pointed to, which is like thoughtful engagement in the comments? That's more than just thanks for posting,
Cool articles,
great
man.
share. Yeah, cool article. Yeah, what a great.
Thanks, dude.
And then connect and pitch.
The pitch slap, I think somebody said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen, I think, said it.
Yeah.
With the P, the pitch slap. Not with a B.
So
It'd be clear.
one thing that's come up recently in this conversation, and we're going to dive in more into some like the thoughtful engagement and how, especially on the content side for sales teams. But I want to kind of clear the air about pitch slapping and connect and pitches, because the main objection that I hear from a lot of sales leaders and from a lot of SDRs as well is, well, what about the people who aren't actively posting content? How do I get in front of them, or how do I get their attention and like book a meeting with them if they're not commenting, or if they're not posting, but maybe they log in and they DM and they connect and they read? So like, how do you do that?
That is a question we get all the time. And when I was back in sales, I used to feel the same thing. Like, my manager would be like, personalize this. And I'd be like, they didn't say anything for 5 years. What do I personalize? And unfortunately, there's a fun answer and not fun answer. The fun part of it is you can get in front of them by being seen by them, not with your outbound. And that's the reason why when I teach this stuff, it's like, you do have to get above this level and to get to this level, you have to post your own stuff, because they have to see you in there lurking. If it's just you being like, I'm going to go fishing in this pond, that fish is hard to catch, I'm going to just try better. It's like, no, you got to have some sort of bait. Sorry. That is not good if you don't know how to write content or leave thoughtful comments. And that is not good if sales management doesn't want to spend the time bringing product marketing or somebody in there to teach you how to think about whatever it is you're selling. I think that's the reason why consultants tend to do better at social selling, is because they don't give a fudge about this, and they can speak their mind, which means they talk like real people. They generally know their stuff. Sales reps can, but too often they're told not to. They're told not to do that. They're told to have the company in line, and that's why they can't create great content usually until they're broken out of that. Like, you need to be in this box zone. So get out of the box. Speak like your actual customer. Your case study with the ROI stuff isn't helping. So you have to get in front of those people. Comments can work too. I've had lurkers who don't post see my comment and write a PO for $40,000 within 4 hours of seeing my comment, because it was a well-placed comment. Now, that was even extreme, and I was surprised by that. But he was like, I had extra budget, and sometimes it happens, right? This was a VP of marketing. But you have to get in front of those people. So you can't just be private about it.
It was literally our post today. Exactly that. We've been tracking dark social for 60 days, and we got our first inbound not from a lurker, right? Who said, we've got our first, not inbound, our first deal closed rather from a lurker. Not everybody engages, right? They're here to read. I have three tactics for you. Number one, take a look for the people who aren't posting. Just like Alex said, they are commenting. So even if they're not commenting, I've got some things for you, but take a look, go to their profile, go to all activities, see where they commented, right? And then add something, reply, or just add something. Here's the beautiful part about a comment. If Alex posts something, guess what Alex has? Alex has a whole audience of people that I would also love to get in front of. So what's the most selfish thing I can do? I can go and comment, and with like 2 or 3 minutes, I can get exposure to Alex and be like, hello, I would like to buy your stuff. Even though, by the way, we're a client of Alex's, lovely, sign up for revenue Zen immediately. I get in front of Alex, I get in front of his network, I get in front of other commenters, and I get in front of my network. Boom, 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 over and over and over again. Take an hour, take 15 minutes to comment. Amazing. Look to see if your buyers are commenting. If they are, add to it. And you can do this organically, like systematically through lists and Navigator. You can go old school and write it in a pad and paper, whatever you want. Number two, just remember that so many reps make the mistake of being like, Alex Boyd is the person that I want to sell to, and that's who I want to get in front of. That's fantastic. Guess who Alex listens to? His buyer circle. Guess who Melissa listens to? Melissa Moody on our guest list today. She listens to her buyer circle. She listens to her advisors. Alex and I are two of them. Think about the people that are in their buying circle to get in front of. And lastly, if you can squint and read, Show Me You Know Me is behind me. So third thing, if there's nothing on LinkedIn, how do we get through? Go to their website. Look to see if they've been on podcasts. Look to see if they've written articles. What is their CEO saying? CFO saying? Pull a quote from that. Make a gosh darned effort to stand out. It is so easy. And I will tell you, number one, your executives are clamoring for this on LinkedIn. Alyssa Merwin is my former boss from LinkedIn. She posted a while ago saying in the last 3 years, I think it was 3 years, she's gotten 4 personalized emails. She has one of 3 of the top jobs at LinkedIn. Again, people would kill for this meeting. And she's like, personalize an email and I will respond. Holy cannoli. Last thing I'm just going to say really quick, for whoever posted in the chat about 300 cold calls. Holy moly, Greg. I'm so sorry, first of all. Here's what I would say. So for your managers that want 300 cold calls, I would say do like me and be insubordinate and be like, hey, I'm going to make those calls. And then just do your own thing and start to prove success, or find a way to do an auto dialer, scam the system, get those numbers in, and then just do your own damn thing, right? Because that's how I've always been successful. If my bosses don't get it, it's not the worst thing ever. If my bosses don't get it, I'm going to do what I need to do to keep my job, and then I'm just going to rock it myself. So there you go.
Yeah. This is kind of a side anecdote that's very similar to that. At my first job, it was wearing a suit and tie, cold calling all the time. I was the crazy one who was sending personalized emails. Whoa. And so what I would do is I would like make the 80 dials by like noon, and then just kind of chill for a bit and then make all the actual money later. I was top rep 6 months in a row. I got an extra bonus for it. And they're like, what are you doing? And I was like, not listening to you, but I'm not going to say that. So strike the balance, like Sam said, of not pissing off your boss who doesn't get it yet. Maybe show this to them in a nice way, but not in a way that you got to not offend them with their sensibilities of being old school. But like she said, do your own thing and squeeze it in. And then slowly, once your thing works, show that to them as well. Like, hey, here's another way we could also get these meetings in this pipeline. Here's another thing. Run a report of conversion rate by source. You will almost certainly find a much better conversion rate on lead source from social than you will from outbound. I run this report all the time. I have it on my Salesforce dashboard. Conversion rate and acceptance rate of ops and leads by source. Your MQL ebook downloads that you're cold calling, conversion rate is going to be real low. Conversion rate of people who reached out to you on LinkedIn, very, very high. And so that, I think it was Ekta who asked, how do you do less content, more time engaging and reaching out? The content should be better and more focused, and then reach out to people who comment to you and are in this network, the buying circle, as Sam said. And that's how you can do much more in less time, provided that you have a deal size that is sufficient. If you're selling $2,000 a year things, none of this will be a good idea for you. Like, you should not be doing any of this. But provided that the stuff you sell costs roughly that much, the focused effort on the right sources in maybe 10 minutes a day, apart from your cold calling, get in 10 minutes early, do your social selling. That's how much time I spend a day on LinkedIn, but 15 minutes a day. It should not take that much time.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think
not a...
go ahead.
I want to say it's not random acts of social.
I was
you're
gonna say
not living on social.
just...
Oh.
Sam, all
yes.
you.
Jacob's question, Nick, if you could throw it up on the screen, and we'll have Sam answer that.
with a nice long delay in my audio. Sorry, you guys. I think the what I would tell you, Jacob, is like, I would always start top down, right? So it's much easier to walk down the stairs than up the stairs, and I hate that analogy, but it really is. So thinking about, if I am going to take 5 or 10 minutes to show me you know me and find something about a person, I'm going to do that with the SVP, the C-suite, whoever I can get, depending on the size of the company, and then work my way down. Hopefully I make impact. Hopefully I solve their specific buyer challenge for that buyer persona, and I give them a hypothetical way that I can solve a challenge for them. And then they will refer me and say, hey, this is out of, what I focus on, but talk to my director, my senior director, or whatever. Right. And that's huge. I also think, to Stephanie's question, just about the context, right, of what should go in those posts. I think if your companies do that, companies tell you what to write, then guess what? You guys are all going to have the same shit posted on LinkedIn, and that's going to be super exciting for all of us. I think it's fine if they give some direction, right? And some people who might struggle with what to write, but otherwise, write your own stuff. Like, don't forget, this is your brand at the end of the day too. You as a human being, and someday, decades from now, this company, and take that brand with you.
That is really, really funny. If you're a company that wants to share the meat of something, and then you take it and personalize it. Like, I cannot imagine what Sarah Brazier at Gong's profile would be if Gong from the beginning was like, write this, this, and this. It would be terrible, right? But like, if you're a company, what you can do is say, hey, sales team, we just had a customer on board 3 months ago, and here their metrics are up by this, this, and this. When they came to us, they were feeling that. Our onboarding team did this. They realized that. Go turn that into whatever you want. And then you can write that into whatever fancy, in your own words, case study post, which is what I do. Like, all of our leads mostly come from those types of posts where I'm like, how are we winning on the SEO side? Like, show me a dashboard that's really good. And the team will be like, okay, here's one. And then I'll write what that happened. And I'll ask them, like, how'd that go? What'd they come to us with? So on and so forth. So less scripting and more like giving you the meat. Product marketers can be real heroes here. Like, that can be your job. Community managers can do the same thing. Evan Patterson, Zoe Hartsfield, that community manager role, that like combination product marketing and hyper SDR role in one, that's a mean combo. That is the social selling SDR of the future. And they have like 4x the productivity of one of the top SDRs just with their own effort. That's something that more companies are going to adopt. And that's how you can do what Sam's saying, is like, give you the stuff for it, but not script it out. And the difference is so crucial.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that's emerged from some of these questions, which I'm hearing asked in different ways, is how the heck you actually create good content. And around here, we always say comments are content. So like, I think we've got that addressed pretty significantly. But when it comes to being a salesperson, especially, maybe you're an account executive, maybe you sit in an XDR role. How do you create good content? Like, what is a process, or what are some tips that a salesperson could sit down and say, okay, maybe not 10 of 10 posts are going to be great, but I'm going to have a couple bangers in here that I'm really proud of, and everything else, I'm just going to try and post something. So like, where do you start? Maybe Sam, will kick it off with you.
Well, I will shamelessly plug that we do ghostwriting for a ton of high-level executives. So if you guys ever need help, give us a shout. I think a couple things with content. So one, it's all in your head. I think sometimes even just like an interview with somebody like on your marketing team, or like an executive coach of like, tell me about your life, tell me your passions, like what do you love about your role, right? Like, can get some of this content cranking and your creative wheels going. But think about, like, from a thought leadership perspective, like, what do you share? What do you teach your clients when you're talking to them on discovery calls or demos? If a client comes to you and says, we have these 10 challenges, and you say, that is exactly what we can help with, like, that's your content right there, like what to share. When they say those challenges, what do you teach them? And this isn't like, our product can help you maximize your MQLs. It is more about like, what are you actually teaching them of what to do differently, or how to think differently, right? Like, if Alex was going to think about content, he would teach us about SEO. He would teach us about content marketing. He would teach us about structure, for social selling. He's teaching us. And that's the exact same thing you guys can think of with content. I wake up sometimes and I'm uninspired, right? And so I'll go to a running LinkedIn document that I have, because usually when I come up with an idea, I have like 16 of them. And I'm like, which one do will I share first? So I keep it of things that I find that are interesting and important to talk about. The other thing that I would say, structure of your posts, right? And I know Alex knows as well, is so important. So what we want to think about is a great first hook. If you're really thinking about exposure, we'll give you an algorithm hack that many of you probably know, that the getting somebody to click ... see more is infinitely more valuable to your exposure than getting one of the clapping emojis back. So we have to think about that with our content, right? We have to think about, how do we tell a story? How do we give a hook? How do we say something that's like, and then what happened, without being gross and clickbaity, without being like, it was the worst day of my life. And then people are like, what happened? Don't do that, right? Think instead of like how you can tee something up, get somebody to say, I see myself in that. This happens to me, or shit, that's exactly how, well, she's saying it's wrong. Like, well, what now? And then click see more. That is so powerful. You know, one of the things that I love that we do, we take a post and that's kind of, and then turn it into something extraordinary for an exec. Alex, what about you? Where does your inspiration come from? Do you have a running doc like I do?
I do have a running doc. Yeah, I have that. I have like a library of video stuff, and I've had an assistant help prepare ideas and things for me. If I had more time, I would probably like up that game more and like pre-write a bunch of stuff. I actually am not in the pre-writing phase yet, but like you said, coming up with the right content it's not something that we can tell you how to do without like the broader support of other stuff. Like if you are a rep and you sell, I don't know, you sell something to do with zero trust security automation. I don't know anything about that. Like I can't tell you how to write a great post about that. So, and that's the whole part about doing social selling, is you have to have something valuable to say. And I can't tell you what that is outside of my expertise. So you have to find the expert. Hopefully they're in your company and hopefully they can give you some time to figure out what that is. By the time you are experienced enough to know what those things are, the question I ask it, like you said, Sam, is when you get in a discovery call, when does your prospect say, oh, that's interesting, or I never thought about it that way. This is not my idea. This is pulled directly from the Challenger sale. Go read that book if you haven't. It's basically the same principle. But like whenever you teach someone something, whenever they're surprised by something, that's the thing you want to talk about. Some people do a really good job at this and they're like, why am I not getting leads? And all their posts are very teachy and they haven't built up any trust yet. So I'm like, post a selfie and then write about how you got into the business you're in. And they're like, that was the best post I've ever had. I got 3 leads. I'm like, because people finally know who you are as a person and they can kind of be part of your story and like you. And now they'll listen to the other stuff. So like a lot of my stuff is just like, here's who I am. This is random shit that's going on. And then I'll come in with this fire case study and 5 people will reach out and be like, okay, I'll bite. That's kind of how it happens. So if you don't know the stuff, don't listen to us. Go to your company's team or whoever knows the real stuff and pay real close attention to them until you can tell whatever your value prop is in a human, better way in your own words. And that means like you could explain it at a bar. If you can't do that, you shouldn't be bothering to post, because that's the first step. Go talk to those people. Don't talk to us. Get off this webinar right now. Go to product marketing and say, I need 5 minutes of your time. Like that's the first step. If you're there, great, listen to us. But if you're not there, do that first. That's how.
There goes our audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, Alex, tell me to, I'm out of here. I think 2 important nuggets to add that inspired me to remember. One, know who your audience is. So you've got to think about who is your audience that you're trying to reach first and foremost. Is it potential employers, potential clients? Like who is it that you're trying to reach out to? The other thing is too, your quality content matters. So that's the most important start. But then the second thing that matters is consistency. Your audience is looking, one, to trust you, that you're competent, you have a brain, you've got something to add. And then before they start to engage and contribute, they want to know that you're going to be here for the long haul before they start to build a relationship with you, right? So those comments are going to be light to begin with. Who cares about that? Look at the visibility first. Like that's your measure. Am I getting more visibility as time goes on? Even if it's like going from 400 views to 500 views or 550 to 650 or whatever, it's huge that you're just getting the eyeballs if you don't get the engagement, but that consistency is the key after you prove smart content. So do not give up. Build this as a muscle.
I'm curious, Sam, if you thought about this too, like the evolutionary aspect of this, where I think a lot of people, especially on LinkedIn, the being sold to part, I thought a lot about why that is. Like, why do we have our guard up? Well, probably because when we were hunter-gatherers, we didn't immediately trust people. We thought they were after our hard-earned, bison or whatever we had, right? So, like, how do you get somebody else to think you're not just going to come in and take their bison? Somehow you got to convey to them, I think, that you are there, like you said, for the long haul, but that you won't just pitch to them. However you do that, you got to convey, if you talk to me, I will be a human and I won't just pitch you. I won't just, and this is important because you're telling them I'm not going to take your bison. Like it's more important than just the pitching because it's resources. People have this, like, I think, desire to conserve their resources and make sure they are not taken by random people, bandits, right? If you'd like take it back 5,000 years, it makes so much more sense. What do you think about that, Sam? Is that something that you've taught your clients or thought about too?
Totally. And I think the point that you make is exactly the same point that we talk about for how you treat a discovery call. So that the credibility and the character of who you are, that you're not just here to take their money, but like our presence on LinkedIn is to help people. It's not to pitch them. Should some revenue come out of this and pipeline and an opportunity, phenomenal. Like that is at the end of the day what we are here for, but we're here to teach first and hope that we can convert people that way. Think about when you get on discovery calls, right? Part of the success that I've had, I've broken 13 sales records, been the first woman to do a bunch of stuff, built a great company overnight. The success of that is because I genuinely, God, I'm going to use this word a lot. I genuinely give a shit about people, right? And so I get on a call. We even did it yesterday. We were on a call with somebody who wanted to hire consulting. And I said, hey, like chasing monster deals. And have you also looked at Jamal Reimer? He's amazing. He's written up deals, not to, take the revenue from us, but maybe look at Jamal as well. More than anything, I want you to have the right partner. And I think both the guys on the call were like, what the hell just happened? Right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm genuinely here to help you and I can connect you with somebody that might be a better fit for you than us, you're going to remember that. It's like the trustworthy mechanic, right? Someone comes out and says like, you don't need us, come back in 6 months. You're like, what? I think this is that same thing. Like, be here to help, be here to educate, be here to offer thought leadership, hope, trust the process that it is going to come back in the end, whether it's referrals from that person that you sent to somebody else or somebody who's going to say, Sam has great content, you should talk to her. Staying top of mind with that thought leadership is also key, right? We want to be the one that somebody thinks of.
Well, yeah. Nick, we've both seen this recently, right? Like, it's crazy, actually.
But the hard part is how many people know who they're talking to and are specific to who they're talking to. And that's kind of where that whole random acts of social comes from. One thing I just wanted to add in, just as we're going through this, is I actually pulled for Sam and Alex the top 4 reasons why people don't social sell from leadership, like why they don't allow it. We've got into a lot of them, but there's just a couple. But it takes too long and they don't know what to post is number 1. Number 2 is it's too tough to track. 3 is they tried it and it didn't work. And number 4 is it's impossible to automate. Plus you could get banned. That's the 4 biggest reasons that VP
God
of sales.
forbid automation. What?
Okay, I'm gonna do the thing. If you are, this is my pitch moment. If you have not yet figured out how to track it, you're not alone. We built the tracker for it that does that. So feel free to look into that after this. It's called Aware, and we can do that stuff. I don't blame you on the tracking part. The automation part, screw that. Stop doing that. You did it wrong. And that's the reason why you are not good at it. But I don't know, Sam, you want to take a crack at the it takes too long and it didn't work for us part?
I think it didn't work for us. You have to examine if your process was correct to begin with. So if you say like, hey, I tried to work out before and I didn't lose any weight, what was your process? Well, I ran on the treadmill for an hour and then I ate a pint of Haagen-Dazs every day. Cool. I can tell you why it didn't work. Working out works to lose weight. Social selling works. You just have to make sure you do it the right way. The auto share platforms, the stuff from marketing. We just lost a deal with a very large healthcare company this week for exactly that reason. We're just going to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in an auto share platform and go about it that way. Like it crushes my soul. I want to reach out to their CEO and be like, fire your entire marketing staff. Hopefully none of them are on this webinar right now. Hi. I think the other thing, it takes too long. This is modern day prospecting. Literally, Alex said he takes 15 minutes a day to do this. You want to know how much time I spend on LinkedIn every single day? 2-3 hours. This is worth it for us, right? That is expensive time. I wake up and I'm on LinkedIn. I go to bed, I'm on LinkedIn. At 2 a.m, when you send me a voicemail, need help, I'm here for you, right? But it's so beneficial for us. There's a reason why we spend so much time in it, right? We spend time tracking dark social, why we invest in people to do this for us, why we, continue to invest in content and videos and all sorts of stuff, because it works. I will say too, for anybody that's on the call as a leader, think about how you can set the bar for your reps to do this, right? How you can also set the bar for how this works internally. When I did this at my previous companies on 24, when I did this at LinkedIn, very sadly, most of the leads that came in were not for our team. I'm like, here, everybody else partake in, the leads that we're driving. But it worked for me. So imagine if we had 3 other leaders doing the same thing. Imagine if we had leaders at LinkedIn who work at LinkedIn and are on the platform doing this every single day, right? You could create an inbound demand gen machine. I think even, let's talk about social selling in a different way. Marketers, any marketers that are on the phone, Melissa, I know at least one. If you are not building a system, it's so sad that this doesn't exist as a process in LinkedIn Navigator. But if you're not building a systematic process to track every single person that is tied to every deal you close, build them in a master list, track the job changes that they do, turn those into MQLs, and then have an SLA around when your sales reps reach out, you are missing a pot of revenue for $800 a year of a license of Sales Navigator. Holy cannoli. I use that a lot too. But I mean, there's so much opportunity out there. We're just doing it the wrong way, right? We're saying that we did it and it didn't work, which is a fabrication.
I think the problem comes down, as you said, to desperation and fear. People it's the same reason people are making 300 calls a day. We're sticking to what we know, we used to do, what always worked. I'm clinging to that desperately, and I'm scared. Our prospects hear that. Our sales team feels that from us. They're therefore scared and desperate and all these things. And all the prospects on the other end are feeling is, those are a bunch of scared and desperate sales reps led by scared and desperate people. We shouldn't buy from them. We should buy from the ones that, as you said, help people first, because they don't need my business. And people who don't need my business they have resources. They must be successful. I want to do business with successful people because maybe I'll get more bison. And it's the same fundamental emotional reason. And Josh Braun has a great phrase for this, just calls it commission breath. Love that. People can smell it a mile away, and the leadership team will feel it. And by not investing in things like modern Sales Navigator training, instead of just using it for list building and automation, you are clinging to the past. I know, because my last sales team, I had them sending 20,000 emails a month across several people to set 200 meetings a month. That used to work. I don't like it. I posted about this on Gated's blog a while back, how I cleansed my soul of that behavior and tried to atone for it. But I realized that it didn't work anymore. And so I stopped. Get a load of that. Adapt to it. Like, if you're paying a ton of money for sales nav and not getting value from it, like, before you stop renewing it, it's like, consider reducing your outsourced SDR spend and hire Sam's team to train you on sales nav, and you get way more of a return for it than you would otherwise.
Listen to those words of what Alex said, right? Thinking about the people that are kind of stuck in the past, they're doing what works, they're hiding behind processes that worked. Because at the end of the day, sales leaders can say, listen, it's the product, it's product market fit, it's something wrong. We are doing the right things. We're making 100 cold calls a day, right? We're doing all the stuff that we're supposed to be doing, and it's not working. It's not us. We're doing our job. Instead of thinking about this from a modern prospecting way of how to lead, how to be different, and changing with the environment. To Alex's exact point, right? When the lovely technologies of outreach and sales off and everything came out, we could start doing that. We could send emails at scale. We could personalize at scale. People are like, wow, there's my name on the email. And now we're like, oh my God, give me a break, right? When we see that. But then the market wisened up, as they do with every trick in the book, right? But what a great interview question to ask too. If you're an AE or if you're a leader, tell me about what you advocate for. When you ask a leader, tell me about what you advocate for. What's your selling process like? What do you expect of your reps? And when you hear 300 cold calls a day or something like that, then you also know that you might not have the freedom to do the things that are important, or that this organization isn't going to care, or that somebody just cares about posting the numbers as a leader, burying their head in the sand and cashing in a paycheck instead of actually making a difference and impacting top line revenue. God, I'm angry now.
Well, I mean, we hear this all the time from the unfortunate SDRs and AEs who work at organizations like this. One question I wanted to punt back to maybe both Alex and Sam. Let's say we're not going to purchase Aware, so bear with me here, Alex. But from a strategic side or a structural side, like how do you folks think through success on LinkedIn? And Alex, you had a great quote, which has just lodged itself in the back of my brain, which is a lot of people hunt for attention instead of credibility. And so they pay attention to a lot of vanity metrics, is of course the phrase that gets thrown around a lot. But especially when you're a seller or you're a sales manager, like how are you actually measuring success? What are the things that you're paying attention to? And then what's the bucket of things you're not caring about at all?
Oh, it's easy because I only built Aware to make what I was doing faster and better. It's not necessary to track because you shouldn't need to. For years, we made plenty of money just not tracking it. I say not tracking it, not in a traditional attribution way. Here's what happened 2.5 months into me posting on LinkedIn once I left my job and became that back then independent. It was just me for a while. Someone sent me an email. Still got it. It's in the course. I can show it to anyone who wants. And he just says, "Hey, Alex, you popped up in my LinkedIn newsfeed. We are building out our team from 2 to 5 people, and I would love your help." And then I have the invoice history of $223,000 in the following year, starting 3 weeks from that point. And I was like, oh, shit. So you don't need an attribution platform to tell you that worked. He saw my stuff. He paid us a bunch of money, helped to get our business off the ground. And then that kept happening. And then we look at our HubSpot forums and people will say, "How'd you hear about us? Saw your CEO, saw you on LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah." They'll say that. They'll just DM you. They'll comment on all your stuff and then they'll talk to your sales team. So pick it up somewhere, but it doesn't have to be in this like Aware just made it better, and made it like less clicking and scrolling and stuff for me. And if you have a spreadsheet or bookmarks, it eliminates that. But it doesn't change the fact that the ultimate point of this is capitalism, which means people are like, "I saw your effort, and now I want to give you money." And yes, what we do is we give first because we know that that's actually a better path to revenue is to be that person through and through, is to give first rather than being desperate. And once you've done that for years, you become that person and you just are. But the success is measured by dollars. And specifically dollars, and I say this as a bootstrap company where we don't have venture backing, so it's not meetings. It really is not meetings, because when you think about the value of a bad meeting, it's time wasted. I see a lot of people who are just like, "Oh, our calendars are full of meetings, we're not closing any." It's like your win rate on outbound is 4%, and your win rate on inbound is 58%, and you're going to do more outbound? Cool. The value of a bad meeting, meetings don't pay the bills for someone like me or like Sam. So we have to focus on dollars. And that's why that's always been the metric that we use. And why like an SDR manager, unfortunately, could be like, "Look, if we set the meetings, we set the meetings." Well, maybe freaking not, right? Like that doesn't pay the bills. So Aware or not, the metric is dollars. Did you make money from this? And you can analyze how you got that. What is the conversion rate on those? What is the sales cycle? For example, I actually we have a longer sales cycle from leads that were sourced from our LinkedIn because they started with us very early in the process and they evaluated no other vendors, and our win rate is much higher. That's the story. That's how the numbers tell that story. And we have this all logged in Salesforce. We did it even long before we had Aware. We logged this in Salesforce. And so I can show you my dashboard proving that out. And it's very common among other people. Sam, I'd be curious to hear your numbers on that same scenario. But it is dollars and nothing else.
I totally agree. I think the other thing to think about, just success metrics with social selling, keep in mind, right, when doing cold outbound, forget social selling, we're doing cold outbound over email. We have to prove our value to that buyer. We have to show them that 30 minutes of time spent with us is going to be worth it. They come to our site or they respond to our email without value proven if they have a bleeding problem they need to fix. They Google us or they say, "I'm sick of XYZ, I'm going to move to their competitor." That's about it. Social selling is doing exactly that. It is talking about our thought leadership, what we can teach them, and saying, "I have a brain. I am competent. Come and spend some time with me." To me, when we just exactly like Alex said, like we're focusing on dollars, but for the marketing teams who are like, "Great, Sam and Alex, that's adorable, no attribution. How the hell will we know if this works?" Here's my test to you. Take 10 or 20 of your top performing sales reps, the ones that are skeptical, critical, pains in the asses, think they are the most amazing sales reps. I've never known anyone like that. Anyway, take those people, right? Who are, are going to be fast and furious to try something new, see if it works. And then if it does, they're going to shout about it, either for positive or for worse. The number one thing that your reps are yelling at marketing about is the lack of quality MQLs, lack of quality leads, right? And then marketing says, we give you a ton, but you don't do anything with them, right? The tale as old as time. Here's what I would say. Teach them how to social sell, make an investment in somebody like Alex or myself. We will show you how to do this, and then do a 90-day or 120-day pilot. Here's what's going to happen, right? When they start to do this, as soon as leads start to come in, right? Inbound influence. I saw this post. I saw this. Your top performers are all the attribution you need. They are going to say, this works, this influenced it. And then you're going to get your B players who have been sending 10,000 emails a week and not getting anything. Calendars are full, nothing converts. They're going to be like, wait, what is this? And that is how you will get conversion, right? But start with the top performers. They will give it a shot because all they want to do is hit their quota faster, get to club faster, and make as much money as they possibly can.
Yep, that's exactly right. I had someone the other day. I won't name the company, but it's a client of ours for they've been with us for 4 years. It was a 7-year company. Nope. And they just got acquired recently. And so this man is in earn-out heaven. He is just like, all right, in the next 16 months, I have whatever chance I have to sell as much as I can and to make as many millions of dollars as I can, because it's him, and he's just like, I need as much as possible. And so he was like, he got some budget from the acquirer to do a pilot, and a 4-month pilot, which he was a little slow and busy closing deals, so it's turning into 6. And I just hit him up every month or so. I'm like, how are things going? And he did not use Aware. He's just still trying to get permission from Salesforce admin over there. So he's just not tracking every like and everything. So I'm just like, how is your earn-out going? How is your dollars going? And he said kind of the same thing you were saying of just like, is it working? And he's like, well, I don't know if specifically it's, working in people are DMing me a ton, but the outbound is getting way easier. Pipeline is up and nothing else really changed. And revenue is up and we crushed our goal. And I was like, okay, I mean, I don't really need a ton of attribution on that. I mean, and a lot of people will say adorable, and I agree. That's why we built more of the attribution stuff, to help those people bridge the gap between where they are. And it's almost like faith, because you have to just be like, revenue is up. They're seeing our LinkedIn stuff. I can't prove the causation without that for your specific org, but I can elsewhere. And it really seems like it's working because people are talking about it. So you have to use some of that qualitative data and just also logic. The logic is, okay, you put out good stuff that educate people. People have problem, they get educate, they buy you. Did it work? Yes. It's just so simple when you think about how could it not work? How could you spend all the time teaching people how to do their job better? How could that not work? Why would that not be something that influenced them to buy? It doesn't make the alternative doesn't make any sense. This explanation is the only one that makes any sense, which is why I keep doing it.
One question that has come up, and Nick and I talk sometimes to different sellers about what's your superpower? Are you somebody who's really good on the phone? Or are you somebody who just gets that email writing cadence down, or knows how to do the personalization really efficiently? Or are you really good on social? So one question I wanted to pose to both of you, maybe starting with Sam, is do you think that social is the right channel for every seller based on where the world is? Or are there still ways in which we need to rely on, maybe let's group them as quote unquote traditional sales methods, and we're not necessarily social first? Does that depend on the seller, or should every seller be basically saying, I'm social first, even if I'm using other traditional sales methods?
I think if we're hiring somebody with the confidence that they can be client facing, then social should work for them, right? As we know, not everybody's cut out for sales, and they might be in sales for a decade and just still continue on, and they're not good for it, right? Or they're not good at it. But I think if they have the potential and they have the skill set and they have whatever we're looking for in hiring them, then they should be competent enough to be on social. And again, like, I think this can start with just adding some comments, right? We've got somebody on our team who is terrified of social selling. And every single time she writes something and engages somebody, she's like, can somebody read this for me first? And I'm like, you just need to get going, right? And you're going to have that. But people need to build their confidence to just add some commentary and engage, and like, it doesn't even have to be that hard. But I think social is the right channel, as long as your audience is here, right? We know that there are some industries that they're just not here. They're not reading in the way, even their influencers aren't reading in the way that it makes sense. But my God, if you were selling to B2B SaaS technology companies, it's a candy from a baby.
I will take more of the opposite side and say there are actually plenty of reasons when you shouldn't be on social, and there's a number of qualifications. Deal size is one. If deal size is too small, the quality of leads won't matter. Like, you have to there has to be some other motion where it's like, I sell credit repair services. You're not going to be using LinkedIn. And I imagine not everyone sells to B2B SaaS. So like, that's why I have to remind people of this. If you sell to plant managers in manufacturing floors, they're just not really on this platform as much. I sell to field managers. I sell B2C. There's just plenty of industries or deal sizes which are just too low where it doesn't make sense. So the qualifiers would be, is your deal size sufficiently sized? Probably 15K at least, ideally more per year, or total. And then, is your market generally using a desk rather than like on their feet out there to work? And neither one is better or worse. It's just, if they're at their desk, they're much more likely to use LinkedIn. We ran some numbers on industry usage of LinkedIn, and some are very, very low. Tech, nonprofit, there's funds that are very, very high. So you're going to have incrementally more success the more your market uses LinkedIn. If they rarely use it, you're just going to have a harder time. If your deal size is small, you're going to have to use more of those more traditional sales methods. But yeah, I like to be very, very clear about who shouldn't do it, so we can kind of focus in on who should, because I don't want people saying, well, worrying about why they're not using social if they really shouldn't be. But your mid-market,
Excellent
your
points.
enterprise, corporate type of buyer, 100%. It should be something in your arsenal, even if it is not the whole thing. It shouldn't be the whole thing, but it should have a place as much as you can, at least 10, 20 minutes a day, if not more. But if you can't spare 10 minutes a day, you are leaving money on the table.
Mm-hmm. Man. Okay. So one question that had come up, which is actually interesting, from Ekta again. Let's talk about content focus briefly, and then we'll close out our hour today. One of the things we've talked about is leveraging content to get in front of buyers who aren't necessarily active. So basically, what happens, what Ekta is asking is, what happens if you have multiple ICPs who listen to different things, or who maybe as the seller, you feel like you need to post in some different types of content? What are there pros to that approach? Are there cons to that approach? How should sellers think through focusing their content if they have to go after a few different kinds of ICPs? Sam, maybe?
Yeah, I think, think about, again, the core ICP that you have. Who do we sell to the most, right? Even if we're kind of starting to take lines out and say, we know the marketers are starting to buy us, or marketers make up 20% of our buyer ICP, but sales, leaders or CROs are 50%. Think about the core, but also just think about your long-term brand. So we want to think about the here and now, but we also want to think about starting to build trust for who it is that you are and what you have to offer in your deep-seated expertise. If you know that you want to be in sales, if you know you want to be in marketing, if you know you want to sell to sales and marketers forever, or in tech, then that's great. But I would say take the majority of that, of who you're selling to, make that the majority of your content, right? So at least you've got a voice there, but then weave some stuff in. for us, we are hired by CROs, heads of sales enablement, VPs of sales more often than not. But today I just posted about dark social and about tracking that and about how you need to train your teams on LinkedIn. So I've got a little like, hey, marketers, pay attention to me. I also talk about sales leadership. I talk about how to crush your quota. I talk about how to be a great BDR, right? I'm all over the place. But what I'm really trying to do is say I have a very fine expertise across the board in sales and then also how to social sell. And I want to make that clear while having content that adheres to buyer personas that overlap.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing to add. It has
Cool.
to lead back to the core thing you do. If it's all over the place, it's not going to help. But if it leads back, if it infers, implies, if it sort of drives back to the core thing you sell, great. But don't post about, if you don't post about technology news, don't post about random acquisitions and stuff like that. Like, don't just post news to post about the tech world. That's not going to help. It should clearly lead back to your main event. If it does, great. If it's not, don't post it.
Let me add just one quick extra thing there. The reason also we're thinking about how to have content that targets BDRs, right? Our most entry level position. We get two wins with that. One, we get to genuinely help people do their job better and teach them something. But they're more likely to engage, which means somebody on their team might see it, which means their boss might see it, which means their CRO might eventually see it. So think about that again. We're posting content to gain access to different networks, not specifically the core decision maker that we have, because that will be much tougher to get. So that variety is important.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Alex, Sam, wow, what a power hour. Thank you both for joining us today. I'm sure anybody who's watching this now or listening to this later can find you out here on LinkedIn. So sometimes with other guests, they're like, oh, where can we find you? And it's like, well, we just talked about LinkedIn for an hour. So obviously, we can find both of you out here on LinkedIn. And I just wanted to thank you both and thank everybody here for joining us for this amazing session. I learned a lot. It's great to hear stuff. It's sort of, what's the expression, from the horse's mouth, but from people who are doing this and generating real revenue, real pipeline off of this sort of tactics and all of our lovely, lovely catchphrases today. So thank you both for joining.
So good to be here.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you for having
Thanks,
me.
everyone.
Thanks.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.